Hello there, one and all, and thank you very much for tuning in to episode 512 of Love at First Scent with Persolaise live on YouTube. As always, regardless of whether you're watching the live or you're watching the recording, you are very, very welcome. We have some comments already in this slightly different time slot, not particularly kind to North America or indeed South America, but maybe kinder to Australia and Singapore and I don't know, the Philippines or wherever you may be watching from, Japan. First comment goes to Jeff, who says, "How is it already December?" To which my answer is, I actually don't know, but it is the 1st of December. It is the first day of Advent. We have lit the Advent candle and the number 1 is gone, burned away. It wouldn't be a Love at First Scent episode without Persolaise being a little bit paranoid about whether the tech is working, because from what I can see here, things appear to be a little bit out of sync. So please do tell me if they seem to be okay at your end. If not, I wonder if there's one setting I might be able to change, but let's see. We'll just keep going for now. So Jeff says, "How is it already December?" Dry Martini says, "Hello from the cold but sunny Berlin." Yeah, not very sunny here, unfortunately. Perfumed by the Sea says, "Hello, hello. First day of December. Scent is Barenia from Hermes. My scent of November. I fall in love with it more and more each wear." Lots of fans for that one. It's turned out to be, like so many Christine Nagel compositions, that one has turned out to be a little bit more polarizing than expected. Lots of people have fallen in love with it very, very, very deeply, very, very hard. Interesting. Any comments about the audio? Is anybody saying anything? I thought I saw one. Oh, AT says everything okay here. All right. Thank you very much for that. I'm so happy to catch a live, says Carry On. You're very, very welcome. Gavin says, "Hello, a Berenia fan here too." Oh, good to know. Interesting. Francesco says, "Wow, I never caught a live." Hi. See, maybe when the timing is different, we can kind of catch a few more people. Hi from Spain, says Killer. Tracy P says, "Audio is fine at the moment." Good to know. Thank you very much. Well, if there are any problems, I know I can rely on you to tell me if there are going to be any issues. Actually, a surprising number of you managed to tune in at this time. Perhaps we should do it at sort of 1 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. UK time a bit more often. Anyway, what is the plan for today? We're going to try and do 2 videos back to back. The first, a longer one, as you can see from this array next to me. We're going to try and get through a few new and newish releases that have sort of come out over the course of the last few weeks. And then we will take a break of a couple of minutes and come back with a single perfume review of a sort of vintage classic scent. We haven't done one of our sort of vintage classic episodes for a while, so I thought it might be time to do one. And this is a perfume that celebrates a big anniversary, a big birthday this year. And I think I can confidently say that it is one we have never, ever mentioned on this channel before. But I reckon it's going to be one of those ones where as soon as I do mention it, people are going to say, "Ah, yes, I knew somebody who wore this," or "I wore it," etc., etc. Is it Chanel Coco, says Carry On? No, we have mentioned Coco lots of times. And actually, I wrote a piece on Coco. I mean, you're right to mention Coco, because Coco turns 40 this year, right? Coco Chanel. But I did a long piece on Coco on my Substack several months ago. So do see if you can seek that one out. I think we need to get going. The less preamble, the better. Omar says, "It's not the audio. The video chops every few seconds, but it's not bad at all." Okay, well then, that is what I am seeing. And that is actually, if you'll bear with me, that is what is annoying me. So let us just try this. And hopefully that will stop the chopping. But so let me know if that's any better. But thank you for that, Omar. And no choppy video from me, says Carry On. Everything is great. I will watch back the recording and I'll see sort of what worked or what didn't work. But it kind of throws me a little bit when I kind of see the screen jittering. Now the audio and video is fine, says Thomas. Okay, so we'll stick with this setting. I think I don't quite know where to start, but why don't we start with something by Monsieur Ropion, by Dominique Ropion. Oh, Dry Martini. That is very, very, very kind. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. This is from Roos Roos, a brand we have mentioned on occasion on this channel. founded by the legendary Chantal Ross and her daughter. Chantal Ross, in case you're not aware, I mean, all you need to do is search her name online, and most of what you need to know about her will come up. But she was basically the creative director at the helm at YSL when they released things like Kouros and Jazz, and possibly Paris as well. She was there when they did M7, a real sort of industry giant, seen as a very kind of uncompromising sort of figure. And a few years ago, she set up this brand with her daughter, and I think it's enjoyed quite a bit of success, but it always sort of seems to be a little bit under the radar in the UK. I really, really love their Mentha Religioso or Monta Religioso, which I don't think UK stockists carry. I think because it didn't do terribly well here. All of their perfumes have been made by, you know, renowned. Fabrice Pellegrin has done a lot for them. Jen O says, "I really love your new backdrop, Mr. P. Thank you very much. That is kind. This is what we're going with. Although we may have a few surprises up our sleeve as far as backdrops go in the weeks to come." And they've also got a kind of sub range, a sort of botanical green range. This is a collaboration with a jeweler that I'd never heard of before. The jeweler is Mellerio. I have no idea if you say their name like that, whether it is meant to sound like Malaria. But you can see that their name is on there. They're saying, you know, established in 1613. So they've been doing all right. And this is meant to be a perfume that's a collaboration with them, done, composed by Dominique Ropion. Oh, David now says audio is terrible. Well, I don't kind of know what to do about that. So maybe, David, why don't you try refreshing and see what that does? Because now at my end, actually, things seem to be going all right. And people are saying that the audio is okay. So apologies, David. We do have pre-sprayed blotters for all of these. So let's see how we go. Let us start with Monsieur Ropion. Worse than starting with Dominique Ropion. Can you? And I don't know anything about what their jewelry style is meant to be like. If anybody knows, you know, if you own any pieces from them, please do let me know. Okay, let's take a look. Have you noticed there is a Joe Malone here? I think maybe we'll save Joe Malone for the end. Okay. Okay, I wonder if it's giving me a kind of false sense of security. You know, rightly or wrongly, we have now come to associate Dominique Ropion with really, really large, over-the-top, dramatic creations. I mean, after all, he is the person who created Amarish for Givenchy, but he's also behind Portrait of a Lady, Carnal Flower. You know, not exactly scents that are wallflowers, that are shy. But this starts off as a gentle, pleasant, rather sparkly, rather golden, light-catching floral. Maybe floral in a kind of abstract way. I mean, would I say that it's a rose? I mean, Dominique Ropion is particularly good with roses. Gavin says floral brutalism is Ropion's main well, it is. Floral grandiosity. And maybe they said to him, look, do what you do with florals, but kind of tone it down. It's a very, very open sort of style, and also, I mean, it has to be said, quite mainstreamy feeling. Some of the Ross and Ross perfumes have been quite out there, have been quite interesting, have been quite bold. This feels like the kind of thing that people would say, oh, you know, it's a sort of safe everyday work scent. Which is not a criticism necessarily. What else are we getting? There's definitely something green in there too. Maybe shades of something ambery coming forth. But I think the main impression is a pull and light and luminosity and lights popping. And a woodiness as well. And also maybe not particularly or specifically feminine. I wonder what this would be like seen as a unisex. I don't have a huge amount of info about it, but let's read what I do have. Where are my little notes on this? So actually, there's next to nothing about it. They say that the fruit of the aestheticism of Master Perfumer Dominique Ropion, this is the fruit of it. Couleur Vendome is a microscopic immersion in the Monterosa rose. Oh, so are we supposed to call the perfume Couleur Vendome? So is it like it's Ross and Ross and Mellerio giving us Couleur Vendome? Because did you notice that Couleur Vendome in fairly small typeface on the packaging? So is a macroscopic immersion in the Monterosa rose, restoring all its tonalities right down to its wilting. Interesting concept. Polished with orange blossom, Florentine iris, and spices. It actually says spices, but I think they mean spices. Exploring Venice and its stalls, and the distinctive rosy red light that shimmers in mythical places from Place Vendome to La Scala. Yeah, it is rosy. I mean, maybe not particularly spicy, or the iris. I suppose there's a kind of powderiness coming through. But if there is a sort of single floral note, I guess it would be rose. Then they go on to say that it's a precious collaboration between the Mellerio house and Chantal and Alexandra Ross. Alexandra's her daughter. A dream of entrepreneurial women, a polished perfume of dazzling dreams. And that's kind of it. The notes, according to them, are cardamom, pink pepper, and cinnamon at the top. Cinnamon. Have you noticed in perfumes that, I mean, maybe I've got a little bit of a blind spot to cinnamon, but when somebody says, oh, it's got cinnamon, I smell it, and then I sort of go, oh yeah, but I'm not sure that cinnamon kind of makes its presence as distinctly felt as something like, I don't know, nutmeg or clove. Cinnamon seems to be more about a shimmer. Cinnamon seems to be more about luminosity, a sort of certain light intensity, or maybe even a kind of light temperature. The one perfume in which I can sort of go, oh, look, there's cinnamon here, is Comme des Garçons White. But I think maybe that's because it's linked with a particular type of sweetness that I then associate with a cinnamon chewing gum I used to like as a teenager. Because now that it says cinnamon, I go, oh yes, that kind of strange, as though there's, you know, a tree bark made of light effect of cinnamon is in here. Then apparently we have got rose and orange blossom, and then patchouli and labdanum in the base. Jeff says Ombre Narguillet's cinnamon is rather prominent to my nose. Yeah, see, interesting. There I get more of the sort of shisha apple smoke effect. Dolce Vita has a cinnamon note, says Carry On. You're absolutely right. But there for me as well, it's sort of more about the effect of it rather than the specificity of it. I'm actually quite sensitive to cinnamon, says Thomas, like in Ombre Narguillet and Musc Ravageur. Yeah, they're all interesting ones. So maybe I've just got a little bit of a sort of nose blind spot. Gavin says, I would love to hear a perfumer or interviewee perfumer explain how a cinnamon note is possible with the allowed cinnamic aldehyde concentrations. We will put that to a perfumer next, or maybe we'll sort of ask some of our contacts in the industry to explain that to us. Okay, and pre-sprayed blotter. Where can I put this? I still haven't quite worked out where everything is meant to go in this queue setup. Where's my pre-sprayed Mellerio? Oh, it's not this one. And if I'm meant to be calling it Couleur Vendome, then apologies to the brand. David says, is it stern in the style that Ropion releases? As in, would you be able to identify this as a Ropion creation by how it smells? If I were being entirely honest with you, if somebody gave it to me and said, guess which perfumer this is, I don't think I would necessarily have said Ropion. I don't know who I would have said, because its overall personality is not especially distinct. It's, I think, just trying to be a little bit more innocuous than some of his other ones. Anyway, pre-sprayed Mellerio. So let's see, or Couleur Vendome. Now, unless I'm really kind of going strangely anosmic, what I'm getting here actually is a sort of coffee note, almost like a licoricey coffee note. It's very, very pleasant. Very well done, as you would expect. That kind of sparkling, luminous rose feel is sustained. And in case you're wondering, this was sprayed about 2.5 hours, 3 hours ago, something like that. So it is quite linear. I mean, I guess you can kind of feel that sort of patchouli woodiness coming through as well. But I think this is the brand thinking, okay, let us not go too out there with because as I said, there are some that they have that are a little bit stranger, a little bit bolder. This isn't one of them. This is kind of trying to be a bit more middle of the road, and it's well done for that sort of thing as well. Speaking of perfumers, I might have thought that maybe this was like a Francis Kurkdjian for his own line. You know how he seems to be especially good at choosing scents that or composing scents that are wearable and enjoyable and accessible without being brainless or silly. It's that kind of feel, and maybe the orange blossom is also making me think Francis Kurkdjian because he does like his orange blossom note. Okay, right. So that's our first one done. Constantine has got something for us about the cinnamon note. It says it is actually more cinnamyl acetate that gives the characteristic smell of cinnamon. The alcohol is floral and the aldehyde is also more spicy. And Comme des Garçons White has a huge chunk of eugenol. Thank you very much for that. Jeff says licorice and coffee and Captain Kirk are Au Noir is kicking and crying somewhere. Interesting point. But not the rosiness, right? Alex says, I'm not overly fond of safe scents. Life is too short to blend into the background. Well, we need to have a broad wardrobe, don't we? Where should we go next? Let's do Maison Noir. I'm pretty sure that this is the first time we've been talking about this brand here. And this is their latest release. It's called Quandoley. There we are. Quandoley 805. So I didn't know a huge amount about this brand until recently. It was co-founded by a chap called Claudio Denz, who's based in Switzerland. And he came over and very graciously gave me an interview in which he explained the brand. And there was one thing that he said, one way that he described it that's really stuck with me, because he said that his aim is to be accessible niche. And he definitely didn't want his perfumes to be in the kind of crazy stratosphere of some of the perfume prices that we're seeing at the moment. I mean, they're not cheap, but they're definitely also not in the bracket of, I don't know, Creed and the L'Art à la Matière from Guerlain. I believe that the bottles are below £200, at least in the UK. The number, so this one, for instance, is 805. The number refers to a sort of 3-digit code that the brand has devised. And so the 8 tells you that it falls into their spicy category. The 0 tells you that it falls into their wild category. Make of that what you will. And the 5 means that it falls into the ambery category. And the 3 digits is meant to give you a sense of what type of perfume it is. And as if that weren't enough, the bottle and the packaging also pick out sort of 2 key notes. So here you can see that ylang ylang and olibanum have been picked out. I wanted to talk about this one just so that we can kind of get the ball rolling with the discussion of the brand, and also because it's the latest one. But I do have samples, I think, vials of, I think, all of their previous releases, and I need to sort of work my way through them. But my initial impression, having smelt them very, very quickly at the interview, was that they are maybe not the sorts of things that reinvent the wheel, but they do what they do well. And so they sort of aspire to a kind of independent niche spirit while being a lot more approachable, I guess, than some other independent products out there. I noticed not many comments about it. I don't know if you out there haven't tried their work yet. Omar says, I don't love these numbers in perfume names. We're not going to memorize them. I know. I mean, if I'm being entirely honest, and obviously, as you know, I am always entirely honest, the numbers for me are neither here nor there. They strike me as being potentially a little bit gimmicky, but maybe there might be people out there who might look at one of the releases and go, oh, this has got an 8 and a 0, and I quite like the other one that they did that had an 8 and a 0, so maybe I like this one. I don't know, maybe that's what they're going for. But as I say, it's called Quandoley. The color scheme, not that I'm a fan of musicals, but am I right that this color scheme is very, very, very Wicked and is very, very on trend as far as, you know, Wicked is concerned? Let's have a spray. I seem to remember from memory, from a very, very quick sniff, that this one was a little bit strange, and I kind of appreciated its slightly out there bizarreness, even though I didn't sort of think it was necessarily a perfume I would have wanted to wear myself. Yeah, it is one of the most realistic evocations I have smelt for a while of really, really strong, bubblegummy, chewing gummy, sweet, sugary, fruity concoctions, but bizarrely done in a way that isn't entirely sort of cringe-inducing and off-putting, because it is so photoreal. It's a very, very fine line, those sorts of things, because even if you do have those kinds of sweets, while you're having them, you realize that they're filled with chemical concoctions, and yet they kind of do tick a few satisfaction dopamine endorphin boxes in your brain, but they need to tread a fine line between being fake enough to be enjoyable and also real enough to be enjoyable. And I think this is doing that. It reminds me of Prada Candy years ago, that was yet another sugar and patchouli bomb, and yet its confectionery note was really, really well done. And so somehow you were able to accept it as a gourmand, and you didn't have trouble accepting it. This is in that category. I mean, that bubblegum opening is really, really quite bizarre. It calms down very quickly. The trouble with openings like that is that they're a lot to live up to. You either as I suppose as a composer, and this is composed by Guillaume Flavigny, I will read you the press release in a minute. You either then sort of say, okay, well, I've grabbed your attention with this strange opening, and now things are going to become a little bit more mainstream, a little bit more recognizable, a little bit more normal, or you somehow keep the weirdness going. And I suppose both are equally difficult to do in a compelling way, because if somebody's attracted by the weirdness and they want more weirdness, that's hard to sustain. Whereas if they like the weirdness and you're somehow meant to convince them that they're also then going to enjoy the ordinariness, that's quite difficult to do. It's now becoming woodier, maybe a kind of orange blossom note coming through there. But I think it's also meant to be that the concept is of a sort of fantastical train journey. Let's see what they say. So where did I pop the press release for this one? Okay, here we go. Maison Noir, renowned for its unique storytelling and visual fragrance discovery, is introducing a new fragrance this fall, Quandoley 805. This new release is more than a fragrance. It is an invitation to a sensory journey that celebrates the beauty and mystery of life and tells the story of a nostalgic luxury train that embarks on a captivating odyssey through life's myriad moments. This elegant and powerful fragrance was crafted by the renowned perfumer Guillaume Flavigny at Givaudan and is an intricate and captivating blend of spicy, wild, and ambery notes. So that's their 805 reference again. The fragrance opens with a top note of olive oil. Yeah, okay, not necessarily for me. Cistus and pink pepper, which then transcends into a heart of ylang-ylang, leather, and olibanum, before closing with a base of benzoin, vanilla, and oud, they say. Well, we'll let them have that one, maybe. Claudio Denz, a quote from him: "At Maison Noir, we innovate every day and try to read the lips of our customers. For Quandoley 805, we harnessed the power of AI to craft a visual world that perfectly complements its story and olfactory journey. This fusion of technology and artistry allows us to create a truly immersive experience where every element, from story to scent to imagery, tells a cohesive and captivating story. Each spritz of the fragrance evokes the charm of eccentric characters, the beauty of scenic landscapes, and the celebratory atmosphere of a journey with no final destination. It is a kaleidoscope of experiences designed to make every wearer feel like part of an exclusive, timeless adventure. And that is it. So nice, fairly prosaic press release there. And as I was saying, in the UK, 50 mils of this is £115 and 100 mils is £180, which is, you know, as I keep saying so often on these videos, not cheap, but also not up in the stratosphere like so many other releases. Pre-sprayed, it's the pre-sprayed one that's going to be the interesting one with this, isn't it? Where are we? Quandoley. Here we go. Old man Shizuoka says, what a surprise, a Persolaise live on a Sunday evening in Japan. I was hoping somebody would tune in from Japan. No wonder it finally became cold outside. And David is barfing a lot at the mention of the AI. Somebody passed David a bag. Gavin says the publicity photos taken on a train set are very wicked. See, they knew what they were doing there. Everyone is dabbling with AI, says Tracy. It's getting old in the creative sphere already, makes me a bit cynical. My thing is that we have started calling AI things that are not actually AI. It's like almost every time you get a computer to do something, you just say you're using AI, whereas a few years ago, you would have just said you were using a computer to do something. But anyway, park that one. Pre-sprayed Quandoley. Okay, it's gone. I guess it's not as kind of charming and quirky and interesting and curious as it was at the opening. It's gone a bit more generically sort of woody patchouli. What did they say about the base? Benzoin, vanilla, and oud. I mean, okay, don't come to this one looking for an oud hit. But yeah, there is a kind of dark woodiness. What's interesting is that the journey that it takes you on is actually from froth and light and bubbliness and neon colors, pastel colors, to something a lot darker. I mean, this train is going through a tunnel, and that's where it appears to stop. And that's odd. That's interesting as a journey, as a perfume journey. That's interesting. But you would have thought, with mentions of benzoin and vanilla, that you would get something quite sweet in the base, and it's not. Yeah, if anything, it's a little bit predatory. Who remembers that? Sorry, I thought awful film, Snowpiercer. Was that set on a train where it was meant to be a kind of very thinly veiled commentary on society and different sectors of society and hierarchical societies? That was a very, very, very kind of strange, dark film. So yes, maybe it goes from a pleasant Harry Potter train into the train from Snowpiercer. Curious. Unexpected end. Very, very unexpected end. Alex says, so often the dry downs are not there at all. I really miss the old-fashioned dry downs. Well, the dry down is the most missing facet of modern perfumery, isn't it? Because brands try to get their customers from the first sniff, and so they devote a lot of their attention to the packaging and the top notes, and the dry downs get left behind. Anyway, we have got 3 to go. So let's do Micallef, or Micallef, I'm not quite sure how we're supposed to pronounce them. Again, a brand I think that if we have talked about them on this channel, it has been a while. This is brand new from them. It's from a range that they have called Secrets of Love, and I believe that all of the perfumes in the Secrets of Love range come in bottles like this. And this one is this specific one is called Ma Nature. So My Nature from Secrets of Love. I don't know who the perfumer is. Micallef is a brand that I haven't really had on my radar for the longest time. I know that a sort of big stockist for them in the UK for a long time has been Fortnum & Mason, I believe. But I don't know if some of you out there have got some favorites from them. So I'm really coming to this blind. I don't know what their style is like at the moment. Jeff says, we call those letdown dry downs dragon head snake tail phenomena. Yeah, okay, interesting. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And what's Gavin saying? I agree. The marketing here emphatically made not want to smell this. Oh, which one are we talking about though? I think we're still on the Quandoley. Anyway, this is Ma Nature from Micallef. I have a very, very, very kind of brief blurb about it. This bottle really reminds me of something, but I don't know what it is that it reminds me of. Oh, okay. Big waft of something coming out now. Oh, Carry On says, how do I find your Substack? There's usually a link to it in the video description below. So just go to the video description. This is doing lots and lots of things at the same time. Because my very, very first sniff, I somehow found myself smack in the middle of the 80s, but now I'm in Dubai in the middle of the 90s. Oh, Alex says, often it's dragonhead earthworm. Yeah, probably more like it. Hang on. This is interesting. It's got a sort of strange, wannabe Arabian saffron leather heart coming through. But the opening is also quite sort of grandly floral. It sort of takes you to those sort of big epic florals of the 80s. I was not expecting that. The color reference with Poison is kind of interesting as well, because that is not far off the Poison packaging color, is it? David says, I do enjoy Micallef Soleil Passion. I'll tell you what, this has got, I think this has got Madame Persolaise's name written all over it, because it's got that kind of bridging the gap between East and West type feel. But what is it? There's a kind of glassiness to it, a very, very clean note that also reminds me of one of Francis Kershion's ouds. There was one of his ouds that my favorite of his ouds is still the original oud, but then he did the moods, didn't he? There was a satin mood, there was a velvet mood, and there was one that I definitely liked more than the others, and I think it turned out to be the least popular one, and so surprise, surprise, it was discontinued. And I always liked the fact that it kind of presented its sort of strong woody leather note as though through a pane of the most beautifully gleaming polished glass or crystal. And this has got that feel to it. Maybe a touch derivative, maybe a touch sort of, what the perfume souks and the spice souks in the UAE have been doing for a while. But interesting. Let's go and see what we can tell you about it. As I said, not a huge amount. Oh no, hang on. Why am I here? Wrong page. Blurring the boundaries of codes, Mon Nature adopts a free-thinking attitude, oriental woody, musky amber, a fragrance built around sophisticated patchouli, whose nobility echoes the special, unique character of those who wear it, to assert their difference, to feel good about themselves through a fragrance that gives them total self-confidence. So, in the head, an agar wood blend, surprise, surprise, patchouli leaves, lavender, a honey accord, and clove. So that'll be the spiciness. This is quite interesting. In the heart, cinnamon. Here we go again. Patchouli, cashmere wood, so that'll be cashmeran, which also I think, because cashmeran was used really, really heavily in a lot of Arabian perfumes in the sort of 80s and 90s. So that could be my kind of reference there as well. And sandalwood, and in the base, amber, tobacco, vanilla, tonka bean, musk, and an earthy accord, what they're calling an earthy accord. Interesting, interesting. And then does it just go on to repeat the same thing? Okay, now we need to do the pre-sprayed one for this, because I was genuinely not expecting to this, out of the three that I was planning to do first, to be the one that would cause my eyebrows to go up the highest. Where are we? That's this one, isn't it? No, it's not. Oh no, here it is. It's the one that I've labeled Nature. Right. Oh, Carry On. Thank you very, very much. That's very kind. This is, I think what I'm finding curious about it is that it's kind of taking the sort of almost the cliches, the predictable codes from masculine Arabian perfumes and also the ones from feminine Arabian perfumes, and trying to combine them, which is kind of interesting that it's called Ma Nature, my nature, because in the base you get quite a butch kind of bolshy, hairy chested patchouli. What else did they say? tobacco, yes, all of those sorts of stereotypically masculine notes. The earthy accord, there is something not fungal, but soil-like and dark. This is curious. This is curious. I was not expecting this. This is going to have to be tested, I think, on Madame Persolaise. Gavin says, I got a Noam Chomsky advert pop. What? What is Noam Chomsky advertising? Oh, do tell me, what was it for? I mean, as you know, I do not get to choose what adverts go out on the videos. But what on earth? Is it for a book of his? Or has he got a Substack as well? And it's somewhere between a kind of fougere that's spent a lot of time at Dubai airport and a kind of oudi, leathery saffron thing that has kind of come from Dubai and is stuck at Paris Charles de Gaulle airport. And somehow, through the power of a Star Trek teleporter, they're sort of in the same space at the same time. Interesting. Oh, Gavin says, a Noam Chomsky Internet Masterclass series. Wow. You get the best adverts on the Persolaise YouTube channel. I almost hope that that advert pops up for me when I go through the videos one day so I can see what it's like. Only the best adverts here. This is curious. This one so far gets the prize, so for most interesting of the releases. But anyway, we've got two we need to get through. Let us do the Jo Malone. This is this year's Jo Malone Christmas release. As far as I know, this has not been released before. We always need to be careful with Jo Malone because they say that something's new, and then you find out that actually it's a slight rebrand or a sort of straight out re-release of something that they did 3 or 4 years prior. But apparently this is this year's Christmas release, and it is new, and it's Fur and Artemisia. At first I thought it was Fig and Artemisia, but no, it is Fur and Artemisia. And it's a limited edition, like so many Jo Malones. It's a limited edition. They really, really go out with their limited editions. As you know, we keep an open mind with all brands here. I tend not to be a fan of Jo Malone releases, and I've had a few messages, from people saying, "Why do you keep reviewing their work if you don't like it?" Well, because I take each perfume on a case-by-case basis. I think that would be for me, that would be like a film reviewer saying they're never going to review any of the new films from a director whose previous films they haven't particularly enjoyed. And there are some Jo Malones that I like, so each one is done on a case-by-case basis. So let us see what this one is like. Fur and Artemisia, you could imagine going very, very, very well together, quite easily going together. Sort of bitterness of the Artemisia would combine well with the sort of camphoraceousness of the fur. Okay, here we go. Thomas says, my favorite Jo Malone is Leather Jardin, the Zara one. Okay, well, that's Jo Malone, the person, whereas I should say this is Jo Malone London, as in the brand that's owned by Estee Lauder. Okay, I think this is the kind of thing that highlights, I guess, what Jo Malone should do and what Jo Malone are good at doing at, which is not trying too hard and not trying to be too tricksy and actually giving you what it says on the label. So you do get the kind of pine-like feel of fur. There is a sort of Christmas tree type note here, and the Artemisia comes across as a sort of herbal dryness, a herbal bitterness, very, very attractive. And it's done well. Now, I suspect, like so many Jo Malones, and I know I'm not the only person to say this, I suspect it's not going to be something that sticks around for very long, but then it is a cologne, and a lot of their scents don't pretend that they're going to last very, very long. Jeff says no forehead. Yeah, because this is all right. I mean, would I buy it? No, but then I'm not the target audience. Would I gift it to somebody who likes simple, uncomplicated, naturalistic sort of smells? Yes, I would. This is the thing with Jo Malone. They play the naturalistic card, and that's fine. If that's going to be their shtick, that's absolutely fine. But sometimes they just don't manage to pull it off. And things that should smell naturalistic and nature-bound just smell overly synthetic. This one doesn't. This one does feel like, a breeze coming to you from a walk through a meadow, you know, that kind of thing. Although I suppose I shouldn't say meadow, I should say pine forest. But let's see what the pre-sprayed one is doing. So pre-sprayed fir and Artemisia. Mitra Kai says, has anyone tried Mallow on the Moor from Joe Malone? I seem to remember I reviewed those. Go to Persolaise.com, go to the reviews index, see if you can find that there. And what is that? Menchie Extract says, first time catching you live. Hi, Mr. P. Hello. Thank you very much for tuning in. So this is the pre-sprayed one. Okay, rather unexpectedly, patchouli. And quite a masculine patchouli at that. So is that what they decided to sort of bolster the Artemisia with? So there you go. If you like the idea of a sort of herbal patchouli, what do they say about it? Because I should, I had, again, a tiny bit of info. So they say the top note is, okay, so their tagline for it is comfort and joy. It is very much their Christmas scent then. Wrapped up in the spirit of the season, the woodiness of fir and aromatic Artemisia is contrasted with supple leather in this festive scent. They say it's Artemisia at the top with bitter facets. The freshness of this plant brings balance to the sensual leather notes. Then the fir accord has the duality of aromatic freshness and resinous warmth that brings character to the note. And then finally, a leather accord that brings textured and warm depth to the fragrance. Patchouli. Do we know the perfumer? No, I couldn't find out who it is, Jeff. Sorry. And actually, to give them their due, they do usually say who the perfumer is, but for some reason, this time I haven't been able to find out. So this is one of the better ones, but I think the dry down is unexpected. So if you want the dry down to be similar to what the top note is, you might be a bit disappointed. It actually becomes much more aromatic than I thought it would. Ula, hello, says the only Joe Malone I ever owned was the Pomegranate Noir. I think that was the one, you know, that was their big hit. I owned a bottle of that as well, which I then gave away and recently smelled it again. And it's a big no, very harsh and straightforward. And David offers the suggestion that the perfumer is probably AI. We found your kryptonite, David. We found the button to press to annoy you. Not that we would ever want to do that. Jeff says the Hinoki one from earlier this year you complimented. Did I? Oh, okay, I can't remember that. I know I reviewed it, but I can't, I mean, it obviously didn't stay with me very, very long. Okay, and so we are down to the last one. This is a brand new brand. This is their only perfume. There was something about the kind of the tagline, the mission statement for this brand that really tickled me. The brand is called To My Ships. There you go. It's a UK-based brand, and apparently it's inspired by the Iliad and clean armpits. So they don't just do perfume. They've got sort of like grooming products. I think they have deodorant. They may have a body lotion. You will find out more if you Google or search for To My Ships. But this is their first and so far only perfume. And I don't know whether it's called Of the Gods or whether it's called Polygonum, but we'll go with Of the Gods, or maybe this is the Polygonum fragrance in their Of the Gods sub-range. I don't know. But I had an initial sniff of this just a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, oh, this is rather pleasant. One for the video. Maybe not earth-shattering, but for a kind of herbal cologne, which is essentially what it is, it's really, really well done. Very, very attractive. Hungry Gway says, late to the live, doesn't matter, was watching your video on colourful perfumes and lost track of time. Scent of the day is Tobacco Rose. Okay, let's spray this one. There we are. What's Gavin saying? Gavin says, I really want to try this, and asking for it in the shop by saying, To My Ships, in the most Brian Blessed way ever. Yeah, I think you should. I think you should. Right. Yeah, it's... If there is one genre of perfumery that can sort of instantly induce happiness, then surely it's the classic cologne. This has got all of the citrus notes in the right place, the herbal notes in the right place. It's kind of sweet and comforting, but also just that tiny bit astringent, you know, the way you want it, because you want it to be bracing. You want it to be like a rush to the head, you know, just a tiny little bit of brain freeze type effect. And very, very convincingly done. Everything feels real. It feels as though it's made of good stuff. isn't trying too hard. I suppose if there is one citrus note that is more prominent than the others, I would probably say it's lemon, which is fine. I mean, absolutely the kind of scent that I would want to have to hand very, very, very easily. Let me tell you what the brand says about it, and then we'll look at the pre-sprayed blotter as well, although I don't expect it to have lasted a terribly long time because it is a classic cologne. It is a straight-up cologne. Where are we? I thought I had a little bit of information about it. Okay. Right, so they're calling it Polygonum Eau de Parfum, and in smaller type, they've written of the gods below Polygonum. I don't understand why. Anyway, this fresh, life-affirming Eau de Parfum is memorable for its seductive notes of leafy green citrus. Green is a good word as well. I should have said green. Discreet, yet stirring in the manner of a sophisticated musical piece that grows more intensely pleasurable with each listening. It is the most concentrated expression of the signature perfume created for Of the Gods. So I suppose maybe their deodorant and their other products will smell the same. I don't know. Containing 99.97% naturally derived fragrance of the highest quality, the formula includes oils distilled from the sweetly scented flowers of Polygonum, also known as Solomon's seal, not a flower with which I'm familiar, related to lily of the valley. The twigs, leaves, and bitter orange flowers of Petit Grain. Well, I guess they mean the twigs, leaves, and flowers. Well, no, you wouldn't use you don't use the flowers for petit grain. Okay, so maybe a little bit of a confused message there. And extracts of warm, woody, camphoric patchouli, which is obtained using a precise process that eliminates the heaviness often associated with patchouli. And that's it. I would be fascinated to find out how much this costs. Oh, okay, so it's not cheap. For 100 mils of this stuff, it's £170. They call it a seductive green citrus, and they say that it's subtle and enduring. And Of the Gods comes as a deodorant. And what else have they got? A spray-on deodorant, a hand and body wash, and the EDP. If you would like to gift somebody a cologne from a sort of relatively unknown brand, I would say this is the one to go for. Now, pre-sprayed. Oh, Alex says, Polygonatum odoratum, I have it growing in my garden. Ah, maybe I should get some as well. Tracy says, I just went feral on the Lutin's website. Serge Noir is this year's Christmas fragrance. Oh, you went tell it. Do tell. Is there a discount or something? If there were any Black Friday deals, I missed them. Right. Oh, yes. And Gavin will be saying, how much in a Brian Blessed way too. Attractive dry down, nicely soapy, well judged. Actually, I was not expecting. I thought it might just be kind of thinly woody, but they've gone for gentle, delicate, floral, soapy, musky. Nicely done. We should try to find out who the perfumer is. I am impressed. I will definitely be giving this, I will be adding this to my sort of, or saving it maybe for the sort of summer months when I want something to give me a pick-me-up. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. We managed to get through those fairly quickly. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do consider doing so. Make sure you click on the little bell so that you get notifications of new videos. And if you would like to find out how you can support my work, you should also be able to see a link to my Ko-fi page in the video description below. We will be back in a few minutes with a scent that I bet all of you have tried at some point, but which we don't really talk about very often anymore. Anyway, see you in a bit. Thank you for watching. Bye now.